This is a Full Circle Podcast Show production.
Yo, 360 degrees of perfect steez. Roundtable podcast live with the three kings. We knocking your airways, make you listen every day. Hottest interviews and beats. Tune in, hear what
Take a seat at the round table right here with the three kings. All the entertainment, news, and knowledge that you need. Giving it to you real, cause that's the way that we breathe. Full circle, 360 degrees.
Roundtable podcast. Yo, Roundtable podcast. Roundtable podcast. Roundtable podcast. Yo, Roundtable podcast. Roundtable podcast.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Roundtable Podcast.
Roundtable.
Hosted by Three Kings Clothing. We are back again for episode 4 on this Roundtable Podcast, and we still have a rectangular table. And don't bother me about it. We like the rectangular table for our Roundtable Podcast, let me tell you. So this week's podcast, number 4, is going to be it's hashtag Hoop Dreams. You'll understand as we go. But we do have a guest here, but let me talk to my kings for a second. To my close left, we have Mr. King Joey. What's going on, sir?
Nothing much, man. Same old Joey, same old new weeks, whatever. Same old stuff going on.
Same old
Same
stuff.
old cup of Hennessy, same old Bud Light. Oh, no, not the same old cup. I'm sorry. Not the same old cup.
No, it's definitely not the same
I
old
have to show
cup.
off my beautiful Three Kings cup. Beautiful Three Kings cup. It was done by a lady we know, Miss Tanya's Boutique.
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 Shout out
Miss
to
Tanya's
Tanya.
Boutique, and you can find her out on Facebook. So check her out. She does all kinds of customs and everything. And we definitely appreciate our brother, fellow king, Chris Purdue, for
No doubt.
go ahead and
Good
purchasing
looking.
that glass.
I
and
just saw
going to
Chris
her-
on
going
the
to
way
her
here.
business. Yeah,
He was
he
getting ice
might
cream
even be
at
coming
Auntie's.
up here.
No, he can't. There was a
Yeah, no,
Auntie's.
we
Yeah.
got-
Yeah, I
the
forgot.
There's the
I got
family
that.
issue,
I
yeah.
got the family thing.
So-
And to my far left, we have King Mike. What's going on, sir?
It is what it is. What's good?
All right, you know the way you
Short,
walk, the way you walked, the way you walked in from your other place of business. I mean, you probably saved my life today, and I definitely appreciate it.
All good, man.
And today,
no worries.
Today we have a very, very special guest here who is pumping up our town around here. Please introduce yourself and let the people know what's going on.
Yeah, my name's John Scott. I'm here from Baltimore, Maryland, and making Toledo my home for the past 7 years. And I started a site, kind of Instagram, that I'm pushing for, willyoudobetterinttoledo.com.
All right.
And really, it's just 180 in the mindset of the city. I moved here. I get a lot of negativity about the city, and I'm a believer you bloom where you're planted, and you should be proud of where you live.
Absolutely.
I like that.
What's
I
your
like that.
Instagram page so everybody
It's,
can know?
yeah, Will You Do Better in Toledo?
Will you do?
Will
better?
you do better, Toledo?
Make sure y'all go follow
Hell of a
that.
page.
We've been following John for a while. The page is good. It's got some good information on it. It's got a lot of good information that we'll share with you later on in the podcast. So make sure you go follow that page.
All right. You know how this goes. Y'all understand how this goes. Y'all been with us for 3 podcasts for now, so you understand.
Better been for 3
Yeah, oh
podcasts.
yeah. And if you haven't, you can go back and check it all out. I mean,
We got 'em all. We got 'em all still.
We are out there. So we're gonna go ahead and get into our PSP, our pop culture, sports, and politics. First thing, yesterday, by the time you read this or get this, it's going to be a few days ago. But it was International Women's Day.
shout out to that.
shout out to the ladies.
Shout out to the ladies.
Shout
Shout out to the women of the world.
There wouldn't be no kings if it wasn't queens to
got
hold
that
us
right.
down.
There you
And
go. Absolutely.
And I want to definitely send a shout out to all the special queens, ladies in my life. Thank y'all so much for always being there for me.
Absolutely.
I didn't do nothing special for y'all yesterday, but I'm definitely giving you a shout out. I love you. You know what I'm saying?
And I will have to flat out give a
Absolutely.
shout out to Phyllis Bond, which is my mother.
Hey.
Love you, Mom. Thank you. You raised a man, and hopefully you're appreciative of.
So definitely
You have to say hopefully.
Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? She doesn't like everything I say and do all the time, but you know
I
what
mean,
I'm
that's
saying?
real
She
because
loves me.
really, at the end of the day, they run the world a little bit.
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
A little bit.
Absolutely, a little
everything
bit.
that gets done
Yeah,
is
little bit.
kind of done based on what they do. So
Came from a woman. Got my name from a woman.
And so don't never let it be said that Three Kings Clothing and the Roundtable Podcast don't love and appreciate our ladies. But we will hold y'all ass to task on y'all bullshit. And that's
Oh,
for
for
damn
real.
sure. Because
That might be a whole nother show.
yeah,
might
hold
be a
them
whole
to
nother
task
show.
on their
Many
bullshit. Episode
hashtags,
one.
many
Many
hashtags.
hashtags. Many hashtags.
All right, we're gonna get into just to a couple of things that kind of been going on for the
I think Jackson, I
for the
heard
past couple of weeks. I was just checking something out. We all work at and have been around diverse populations. Doomsday preppers. Now, Costco is out here pumping out a $1,000 to a $6,000 full-fledged doomsday package situation that you can get sent to the crib up to a family of
it
four.
come with
for
an
a year.
AR-15?
5-gallon
Listen.
bucket of pickles.
Come with an AR-15? Like, I think it's doomsday. I'm going to need more than food.
But maybe so. Maybe they're figuring after all the bullets fly that you're going to have to eat, that you're going to be one of the
you know, ain't gonna
Right.
nothing gonna be gone
shit.
but bread and water.
Bread and water.
Everybody buy up all the bread, all the water.
That's it.
Cans of beanie
They
weenies.
they buy up all the bread and water for 2 inches of snow.
Should be buying cigarettes.
I got enough of that at the house. I got stock there. I ain't got to get Costco for them.
So for the small price of $6,000,
They gonna get you
But
together.
come on, for Doomsday,
Yeah.
that's a small price
a
to
small
pay
price
for
to pay for
Doomsday.
Doomsday.
You're set for zombies.
Yeah,
I always say
apocalypse.
who house I'm going to if the zombies come. Zombie apocalypse comes.
Tell you what, you gonna find the one with the least windows. But unless it's like The Walking Dead, because then you just gotta walk faster. Like that's
walk
right.
fast.
Just gotta walk faster than they walk.
Wait for a
Then
couple
you throw the
seasons to
cans
go
of
by.
food at them.
Just
You
ignore
throw the
it.
cans of food.
Just ignore it. Just act like they're not around anymore, and then just have your own soap opera with
when
your
we run
people.
out of bullets, you got to make sure you got a doggone chick with a sword.
Yeah, gotta have a chick with a sword.
Hey, International Women's Day. There we go.
Yeah,
They run it.
absolutely.
They run
So,
it.
so you get like 1,800 pounds worth of grub. So here's my deal.
Okay.
If your neighbors notice that the truck is coming up
You
and they
can
dropping
do
off
that.
10 skids worth of doggone spit, I'm calling the authorities if I see that in my
So
neighborhood.
you getting the skid dropped off. They
skid.
in the backyard hammering all
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
building the ark.
Yeah, all night long you hearing
You
all,
like,
all
what's
sorts
going
of
on,
noise.
buddy?
and
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
What I want to know is where you keep all this shit until Doomsday.
Yeah, they have a bunker.
Yeah, see, that's it. He's right. He's
Yeah.
right. They got that bunker.
Yeah, they
I knew a friend that had a bunker, but it was a bar.
Shout out to the
Shout
bomb
out to the
shelter.
bomb shelter.
Hey, we
Shout
had
out
a
to
lot of
Beverly
good times
Hills,
in the
man.
bomb shelter.
Shout out to Beverly Hills.
Let me tell you,
It was lit.
there are more memories that I've forgotten than the bomb shelter.
Yeah.
What wonderful place.
Man.
Hey, to the bomb shelter.
You know,
To the bomb
Salute.
shelter.
bomb
Salute.
shelter, for sure.
That's what I'm talking about.
Cans of peaches for days.
right,
Cans of pizza.
right.
Canned everything.
Yeah, so if you are
If you worried about it.
if you're worried about it,
You know where they can go.
you know where you can go. Now here's another phenomenon that I found to be pretty flippin' stupid. Well, first off, anytime that there's more than and John, you can attest to this being from the East Coast.
All right.
Anytime that there's more than 1 inch of snow that hits the I-95 corridor, you would think the whole flipping world is going to end. And now
very much the truth.
now they're naming these winter storms like hurricanes. So I guess
After women, International Women's Day.
yeah. So right now, I guess they had this winter storm, superstorm Quinn. Dun dun dun. I'm just thinking that's I think all it is another way to make weathermen the stars of the news.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's the truth.
That's the
truth.
I don't know why. I just throwing that out there. It just bothered me. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I just
Well, I know this, that
I don't like it.
if I would have known what I know now, I'd have went to school to be a weatherman. Because it's one of the only jobs I know that you never have to be right and everybody accepts it.
Yes.
Now check this out.
And just get paid.
Yeah, just get paid. Like I could just say some random shit like, it's gonna snow about 10 inches tomorrow. It'd be
Yeah.
50 degrees. I'd be like, well, guess what? It's gonna be 50 degrees today. Like, and nobody gives a shit.
I promise you this. If you go back and take a look at your college transcript, you probably are only missing 2 classes to be a meteorologist.
Yeah, that's true.
It's God's honest truth. I'm telling you.
Can you guess
You
what?
don't mean nothing.
Can you make an educated guess?
Yeah, I mean, do you play roulette?
Are you a gambling man?
Finger in the air.
Yeah,
Do you talk shit all the time and sometimes are right?
do you look decent in a suit?
Man, see, there you go.
Yeah, so that's what's going on with that. So,
Can you talk
so
to a blue
all the
screen?
people out there on the East Coast, you know what? I don't care anything about you and your superstorm that only had about an inch of snow. You know what? I don't care. I'm just not worried with you. You know, get stronger. You know, be tougher. You know, deal with it.
And get to Costco and get all the.
And
Get all your doomsday.
your doomsday
Get your
press.
God forbid, if we keep naming these things, it's going to be doomsday. If you get 4 inches of snow, close the world. It's over.
Oh man. Oh shoot. So by the time that you're going to be taking a look and listen to this podcast, and this is the Roundtable Podcast hosted by Three Kings Clothing, by the time you take a look and listen to this podcast, it's going to be March 14th. Does anybody know?
It's my brother's birthday.
Well,
My son's birthday is the 15th, but I will tell you what March 14th is.
Yeah.
I will tell you.
Your brother has an awesome
Awesome.
Yes,
birthday.
he does.
Do you know what the national holiday is?
Steak and blowjob.
Steak and
day.
blowjob. Like, could there be a better day ever? Like,
Why's that meme in my head?
My man just laying up with that steak.
yeah. That's what I mean. Like, there's no other. Like, that's just a king's holiday. Like, shit, I
know
can't
what?
even.
I never even knew about that holiday until social media. So good
No,
luck.
I knew about it for the
social
last 6 years. I've been telling my son for a long time, like, your birthday's the 15th. And steak and blowjob day is the 14th. Like, you have 2 days where you could just do whatever the fuck you want. Like, this is it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what else? How could you ask for anything
This
better?
week is amazing.
Right. Christmas and
It's the best day of my life.
Man. Yeah. So here's the deal, queens, ladies. We already gave you a shout out for your
Queens and
internet-
ladies.
queens and ladies, and other unsundry characters.
thoughts, whores, sluts, whatever,
thoughts,
whatever's around.
This is what you need to do on March 14th.
It's always serious when they get a hand clap.
I mean,
Clap your hands.
it's real serious when you clap your hands like this here. I need y'all to don't mess the steak up.
Don't mess the steak up.
Don't mess the blowjob up either. I mean, come on
Because
now. I mean,
once again, I think that's coming up soon too. About a messed up
it's coming
blowjob
up.
is coming
oh
up soon.
yeah. I mean, you know, it's transition.
It's
Segue.
transition segment,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So once
segue.
again, we were at Costco about the doomsday. So ladies, go to Costco, get your man a nice steak, or your boyfriend, or your husband,
don't get your black
side dude, like whoever you feel like you need to be blowing on the 14th.
Yes,
And
make sure that you get this all in order. You know, steak and a blowjob day, March 14th. It's a wonderful day. I'm very much looking forward to
me
it.
too,
You know?
me too.
A lot of steak and hopefully some happy endings afterwards. That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking
I wonder
about.
if they
right
get
there.
that day off work at Google. You know how Google's supposed to be,
Doodle?
or is it Yahoo, where they're all free, they all happy, they got all these nice
National
holidays.
holidays.
Where do they get that day off?
Speaking of blowjobs, let's talk about
Speaking of blowjobs.
Bad brain. I know by now. Y'all have had the opportunity to hear about Black China and her horrible oral sex skills. I mean,
Horrible.
I mean, is anybody
Horrible. Horrible.
sweetheart? You're just lazy. You're terrible. I mean,
Lazy.
Do better.
Let's just get that. You're lazy. Just because you're cute, I mean, and you've bought all of your bodily possessions doesn't mean
Yo.
you can just do that lazily. Like, you still got to.
Yeah, can
Oh,
I
you gotta
just say
fill
something?
me in is all I'm getting at.
Oh,
'cause
you
I-
haven't seen it?
No, man, I'm very much in
He's
love.
still trying in. Fill him in.
I'm stuck in the
Fill him in.
90s.
Yes. Oh
I'm
my
stuck
God,
in the
yeah,
90s. You
my
gotta
God.
fill me
Yeah,
in.
That's right. Okay,
Yeah.
so
You must not follow all the nasty stuff
Man,
on
I'm
Instagram.
Big L and everything else.
Actually,
You
this was just
gotta.
all over Twitter. It was just like
No,
all
I
over
saw it on
Twitter.
Instagram. Like, I was so tired of seeing her
Yeah.
do this terrible job that I'm like, I need to
terrible
get off
job.
Instagram.
You know,
Like,
it's a terrible job.
Kardashians.
Yeah.
The Rob Kardashian guy is his ex-girlfriend. She got caught doing something not very well on video, and Twitter just let her
Twitter
have it
blew
all
up,
day.
yeah.
Like, they
Yeah,
let
she's
her
got a
have
baby
it all
by,
day. Rob Kardashian.
No, but her other baby is
Oh, I
by
don't know. Oh,
no,
Tiger.
Tiger, who is messing with
Well, he's not messing.
Well, not anymore, but they were at one time.
You
It's
said
too
he's
much.
messing
He
with
was
me.
his own, yeah.
It's too much.
It's just
He was messing with the Kardashian sister. So
Okay.
they're all in the same. This is, so
Yeah.
he's, so
They're all
he was
in
his
the
kid's
universe
dad.
of
And,
nonsense.
he was
But-
his kid's dad and uncle at the same time, which should
Listen,
literally
I don't really
be
like
illegal.
to get involved with all of that,
Should
but
be public
really,
service announcement
can
to
I
that
say,
family
did y'all
anyway.
did y'all see the picture of her looking like a Bug's Life on
With the
on
booty. I was going
with
to
the
do
fake
it.
booty?
With the
Oh
fake
my
booty.
God, she
And, it
looks
looks,
terrible.
and once again, okay, I'm gonna say this just because I'm in my mode right now.
Yes, I saw that.
Chick, listen, if you're gonna buy these asses,
Stop
there's
it.
nothing wrong with it because if that's what you spend your money on and that's what you like, that's fine. But put a little bit of that shit in your thighs too. You can't have this big ass and these little baby stick thighs and think that
obviously
shit
you
look
can.
cute. Well, I mean, it works, I guess, but
It's
it
like
looks
shooting robins.
Yeah,
They say
take it
you
out of the
can't.
lips too. They're putting it in their lips too. Shit.
right. The lips, and I mean,
That's
you
true.
know,
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, you just gotta know when to say when.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, with your cosmetic surgery, I
Yes.
just need you to figure it out. But yeah, Black China, do better
Do
on
better.
your oral sex situation because,
Do better.
ladies, don't look to her for skill advice for staking a blowjob date. Please believe. I mean, you'll almost get kicked out of the bed on that nonsense right there because that was
Yeah, it
a
was too bad.
terrible job.
Terrible.
Yeah, it was
Terrible.
It was bad.
Let's just reiterate.
I'm trying to visualize terrible right now.
It was
Oh my God! You know
Now
what?
I gotta
It's
get on.
probably
Now I gotta
gonna
look at it.
Like, you know what? I gotta go hoop right now.
I'm mad that it
Yeah.
actually popped up on my timeline. I'm mad about it. I didn't even
You're
want
like,
to
it's
see that.
all right. I got some shit to do.
All right.
I'm about to pull it up for you right now.
Yeah. You can go ahead and take a
about
take
to,
a glance
'cause this
gander
is
at
just-
that. But we're gonna transition in some a lot more serious still in the pop culture realm. Our boy, our little nephew Meek Mill. You know, we always clown Meek Mill.
Shout
you
out
know,
to Meek. Shout out to Meek.
for the fact that free Meek and all that. For the fact that he yells throughout all of his raps and everything. But
He is an angry guy.
yeah, man.
yelling.
He's an angry guy.
Well, he, let me tell you what, he has right to be angry right
He
now.
does.
Right now.
Yeah, besides being incarcerated, right now the Philadelphia
Yes.
City and the Philadelphia County District Attorneys are taking a look into his case because the officer, Reginald Graham, Officer
Yep.
Reginald Graham, is one of the officers that was on the Philadelphia District Attorney's list of do not call for court. So let me break down what that means. So you're the district attorney, and you have all these different cases coming through court and everything, and you need police testimony for evidence found and custody of evidence and all these sorts of things.
Right.
These list of officers, the list is up to about 30 officers that the prosecutor's office don't even call for their testimony because they have been found to be either racist, corrupt, or been found of serious brutality situations. So Meek's arresting officer even bragged about beating up Meek and planting drugs and all this kind of thing. So, that's one of those criminal justice issues that's real serious that intersects in the pop culture.
Yeah.
And I know John coming from the East Coast and coming
Absolutely.
from Baltimore, Maryland, who has their own issues right now with their police department under a consent
Oh
decree.
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's just tough when you have a list of officers that they can't even call to court. I just think that's a horrible situation, and hopefully right now Meek's lawyers are really aggressively pursuing this, maybe with the help of the ACLU or any of the other justice-seeking organizations to that. If not get him out of jail, at least they can go ahead and have him have a new trial.
Yeah,
So-
and if you don't mind me commenting, what I
Please do.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Please,
because you know what,
please.
coming from Baltimore, and I like to say, I don't know if you guys are fans of Joe Rogan's podcast, but Joe Rogan had on a Baltimore City police officer that talked about similar things. Look, I mean, they don't call it Baltimore Murderland for nothing, but The Wire did a whole
Facts.
series for
Yeah,
a reason, right?
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
But I will say, there's Baltimore is probably one of the most corrupt cities I've ever had to encounter in my life. I'm glad I was raised there because of the perspectives that I had, but the police department is fully corrupt there. I don't know what's going to happen as far as their new commissioners, but you had it to the point to where the narcotics officers were not only robbing the drug dealers, but they were running the heroin ring.
Right,
yeah.
On top of that, you had the prison guards were running around having kids with BGF, the Blackarella family that was running the prison systems. So they had to come in and shut the jail completely down. every bureaucracy in that city is corrupt. Where I got to the point, I'm like, I'm done with this shit. I'm moving to Toledo. We'll do better in Toledo. I'm like, I'm moving to Toledo. Yes, because you will. You
will
will.
do better.
Shout out to
than
that. Shout out to that.
You will do better.
Absolutely.
Listen, I mean, for real though, there was just going into Meek's case a little bit more. That's not the only mishap they've had in that case.
Oh, I bet.
They've the DA and actually the prosecuting attorney. All of these people have had issues. So it's been a lot of missteps, and I think it's a lot of injustice in his case itself. I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, he's in jail for popping willies, and he's been in there for a couple months right
That
now.
was some DMX shit.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it was a PV, but at the end of the day, it's you know, it's not that serious. Plus, there was a lot of shady stuff going on in the
I
background.
mean,
Absolutely.
just the fact that in the original case that they gave the man 10 years of probation. You know, 10 years to have the dog on.
Like so
watch
what
his-
that says is I want you back here. You
Yeah,
know, when
yeah,
you
yeah.
when you
I
tell
have a-
somebody they got 10 years of probation, it's either that or I know this person has a lot of money and they can pay out of that probation. So either way it's not just. you
Yeah,
know,
so that's what's going on in Meek Mill's case over there in Philadelphia. So hopefully that can be justified, and he can go ahead and at least get another trial, and he can go ahead and get on out of there. So he can go ahead and make another album, so he can just start yelling at us again. I mean,
because he gonna have some shit to yell about.
man.
He
got some shit to yell about.
He's got
He
plenty.
needs to get up with Beanie Siegel and make it happen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a Beanie. I'm a
They-
Beanie
hey,
fan.
you know,
Yeah, Meek can yell,
Listen.
and then beans can
all them Philly
Broad
boys,
Street
man. Hey, I
Bully
love
gets
Philly
on
rap.
it.
Shout out to
out.
Cassidy, all them cats.
All of it.
Exactly. All right, real fast. Black Panther. We're just gonna touch on this. It's approaching one. By the time you hear this, Black Panther will have made $1 billion.
As soon as it jumps
One-
off in China.
$1
That is
billion
awesome.
with a B.
$1 billion dollars.
with
It was at 900 million without China. So.
That's crazy.
Yeah, without China.
Yeah.
That's
with, without China.
Yeah.
You gotta add another. Never
Right.
mind.
Man.
I'm gonna shut up.
So that's really a huge deal. And one of the things that I found kind of going on out here is the Killmonger quotes.
Killmonger quotes.
That people are
Very good quotes.
that have they've really taken a liking to. One was a more lighthearted moment when his relationship to the kingdom in Wakanda was revealed, and he hit him with the "Hey auntie."
Very dope.
I mean, you know,
Very
that was a good one. But the other one that is really taking some traction in the African American community, and some of the people have bannered back and forth, is the "Bury Me" quote. Bury me in the ocean next to my ancestors who believe death is better than bondage. I mean, that's a very strong quote. And,
It's a hell of a quote.
It is
and
deep.
it's a
Especially especially for a Marvel movie. I will say
especially
that.
for any movie.
Well, you know what I'm saying? There's certain movies that you would feel like that quote might be said, but to put it out to a Marvel crowd, because once again, just you don't have to be black to like Black Panther, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah,
if you're a
it's a
Marvel fan, you're going to see superhero
Yeah, no,
movies.
exactly.
Right, Black
put
Panther's
that-
that's
what I'm saying.
comic book that's been out since the 60s.
To
you
put
know,
that
so-
into a Marvel movie and to allow that to be said is a hell of a thing, especially with the president we have right now.
Well, you know, just in the times that we're in.
Just had to slide that down. Just gotta slide
You know,
it.
that
Just
to
slide
have
it.
to have that
Down,
sort of
yeah,
quote and
just slide it.
conversation is
Slide it.
it's
Shit
definitely
there real quick.
some big. You know, shout out to all the people involved in putting together that blockbuster movie, and
Great
you know,
movie.
Kudos, and if you haven't seen it, go see it. If you've seen it already, go see it again. All
I'll
right,
see it again.
All right, so in New Orleans. We have you know down in
On Bourbon
NO.
Street. On the Bourbon Street?
Yeah, there's a restaurant, a Nigerian food restaurant, and it's called Sartj. SAARTJ is how it's spelled, and you can check this out at SAARTJ.com. They had a specific menu, you know, all sorts of Nigerian cuisine, and for African American clientele, the lunch was $12. For white clientele, the lunch they asked them to pay $30. They asked.
That's like Suburbicon shit.
Yeah, that's
Like,
Now, all right, yeah. Now, everybody thinking like, okay, that's not fair, is it?
That's not fair.
no.
It's not fair.
Not fair at all.
Not fair.
Now,
life ain't figured
what we
out.
got going on is what the owner of the restaurant was doing is a social experiment on the income disparity within New Orleans.
Within New
And
Orleans.
what they found is that is the level of income disparity that occurs in New Orleans. The average African American family down there is making roughly $27,400 per year.
Okay.
And the average white family in that area is making right at $59,800 per year. So there is a built-in income inequity that is set up within the city. So what this entrepreneur at his restaurant was trying to do is to point that out and to their clientele to see if the white clientele that came up to the restaurant, if they even knew that the wealth disparity in the area was that much, and B, would they go ahead and pay that amount for the lunch? And 80% of the people, when they were doing this social experiment of the white clientele that came up, decided to go ahead and pay.
Oh shit, they were like discount.
Oh,
Shit. Get the
Let me
fuck
go ahead and
out
get
of
this
here.
straight.
So I definitely found
Come
it
on, white people. Fuck.
I definitely found it very interesting, though, that how this entrepreneur went about this situation, just bringing up the income inequity and putting it into something as intimate as your lunch. Because when you're at lunch and you see that the sign says $12 and then somebody's trying to tell you that it's $30, I mean, are you out your damn mind? I mean,
absolutely.
The way they went about it, and like I said, you can go ahead and check this out at SAARTJ.com. And Sarky, the way the restaurant was named, after, of course, Sarah Botman, Sarky Botman. Yeah, and you can look up that story and her mistreatment that she had throughout her life, being displayed like a carnival animal.
Right.
Yeah.
A horrible thing. So definitely check that out. I mean, it's something.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. That's very
it's just
interesting.
something-
That's
No,
absolutely.
that's a unique way to go about it.
It
right?
is, it is.
Because people,
Without
it's
even
like,
saying it,
it's like
but-
someone giving you extra change.
Right,
You're
right,
gosh,
like,
you're
well,
like,
you know,
"Hey,
like I
should say,
won."
Hey, you gave me a
It's a
couple
lot
bucks,
different
right?
that was going on in Houston. I mean, in Atlanta at Houston's. That's a little bit different. It was kind of the same scenario, but it wasn't an experiment at all.
All I know is T.I. was showing up using all sorts of 6-syllable words.
Yeah, they were doing a whole lot of experiments, but it wasn't no experiment.
It's like,
I think they got that situation resolved down in Atlanta at Houston's, and the boycott is off for the Houston's restaurant down
So
there.
shout out to T.I. for standing up for his town and standing up for the people that were mistreated at that particular restaurant down there. This is the Roundtable Podcast, hosted by Three Kings Clothing. We have our special guest here. You will do better in Toledo.
For sure.
Mr. John Scott joining us. And
Yes, sir.
we definitely
Appreciate your presence.
No, I appreciate it. I
Appreciate your
it.
presence.
Being able to share your perspective coming from an East Coast city to there's a lot of different dichotomies of what you got going here. You're coming from an East Coast city to a Midwest city.
Yes, sir.
From a city that's a little bit bigger to a smaller mid-level city, because Baltimore will be on the bigger level.
We're about 650,000. Toledo's about 280, so about half. I mean, it's safe to say about half.
But like you were intimating earlier, the cities that have gone through similar economic and social situations that have brought us to where we're at right now.
Explain what you were telling us earlier about how you feel the same kind of economic situations.
Yeah, it's
that
just
you've seen
a lot of
going
things
on
that I'm seeing in Toledo. I really feel in a lot of ways is deja vu. Nowadays, so to be completely blunt with you, I look at the city of Toledo as one big kind of co-signing circle jerk when it comes to when it comes to the leadership here. And not just leadership in the businesses, and I hope we get to all this. Believe me, because I got views. I got views on these pulpit pimps. Let me tell you.
I didn't didn't mean to throw you that hoop dream alley oop just yet. I mean, we got a whole segment ready.
I told you.
Right.
how
Oh,
you
my
did.
apologies.
Yeah,
My
I just want
apologies.
to
Here goes
your.
your, here goes your soapbox. Step
I was
up.
about to put on some Dead Prez and get going. I'm just
It's
saying.
gonna happen. I wanted to get you in here real fast.
All right.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and transition into our sports segment of our PSP.
It's the Henny, I swear.
Blame it on the Henny. Blame it on the Henny.
Blame it on the Henny.
Trust me. 90% of my life,
Blame it on the
that's what I've done. Blame it on the hitters.
Nah, 91.
Back to,
91.
I'm about to say,
Back to the mama. I hope you appreciate. That's the Henny. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Mama loves Joey anyway. Henny Joey? No Henny Joey.
but there might have been some poor decisions made with Henny Joey.
Henny Joey.
Maybe.
Hashtag
Maybe.
Maybe.
It is March, so therefore it's March Madness. The NCAA tournament will be, by the time you're hearing this, you will be able to. And how about just going ahead and making that Thursday and Friday work optional when the NCAA
It should be a
tournament is
national
on?
holiday.
Nobody's doing any work anyway. Everybody is either sneaking
By
away
the time we hear this, Duke would have beaten North Carolina twice in a row. I'm just saying.
Do you know?
That's
let me tell
crazy.
you this
Yes, I
stat.
know.
Let me tell you this stat that I heard
University of
today that I
Maryland,
wouldn't
Duke.
believe this.
Yeah.
Do you know that North Carolina,
Not having beaten us in the tournament since '98.
since Vince
The
Carter,
son
bro?
Yes, I
of the
know.
mayor of
Vince Carter's
Baltimore
60.
predicted.
I know all the
Which
stats
know
because I
you
use
do.
them in text.
That is
Against
terrible.
North Carolina.
I would not have believed that, though. I would not. 98.
I believe it.
98.
Just we just talking about
We
how
just talking about
since
some bullshit. It's been some
1998.
bullshit, bro.
Chris Purdue, Sean Phillips.
Oh, man, don't shout him out,
Clarence
man. Don't
Harvey.
shout him out,
I'm not
bro.
trying to shout out nobody. I'm just saying it's been since 1998 since Carolina's beat Duke in the tournament.
But I'm gonna say
Vince
last
Carter
year though,
was at North
and I'm
Carolina.
not. And y'all know I'm not a North Carolina fan whatsoever. But I remember last year we did sit at a sports bar as a group,
Yeah.
and we did watch the national championship game.
Yes, we did.
We did, and I don't remember
We also
who won.
said we also said
I don't
at a-
remember who won.
We also sat at a sports bar.
Blame it on the
and
Henny.
We watched North Carolina play Duke. North Carolina was up big.
They were up big.
And I said
They're gonna
Duke's
win.
gonna win.
Yeah, you did say
and
that.
then they did.
Yeah, you did.
Anyway, as you can tell,
There's some
Mike
mixed
B
emotions
is
around here.
Is definitely a Duke fan.
I'm a Johnny Dawkins fan. I'm
I'm
definitely a Duke fan. Oh, I'm a Duke fan for
Christian
sure.
Leitner fan.
Coach K, that's my
See,
guy.
you got to say that too. You're a Christian Leitner fan too.
Oh,
We got
absolutely.
we got Joey who
I'm
is
absolutely a
I like the
Christian Leitner
Hoosiers.
fan.
Bob Knight and them. Fuck it. Bob Knight and them. Fuck it. Isaiah Thomas and them.
John,
Calvert Chaney and them.
John, I'm sure rolls with the Maryland Terrapins, correct?
In this case, I do. In this case, I do. Well, keep in mind, I was born in Cleveland. Divorce brought me to Baltimore.
Okay.
So when it comes to football, I have to stick with my Browns.
Yeah, you see they just
Right.
got Jarvis Landry.
Yeah.
They got Jarvis
I
Landry.
think they just got. I think
Yeah.
they just.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
might have
Market
got Tyrod Taylor too. I don't know. That was.
But
in
you
the
know
works.
what?
That was in the
Listen,
works.
listen.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know
say
if
this
they got
about.
Tyrod.
I'm gonna say this about Cleveland, and I want my statements to be heard about Cleveland Browns
hear it.
football. Go get playmakers. You got a fucking quarterback in Cleveland
get
right
Barkley.
now.
Yeah, that's
you have
true.
a quarterback in Cleveland right now. Get playmakers.
You gotta
Let
get
this,
Barkley.
let this young boy Deshaun Kaiser do what he does.
Yeah.
Shout out 419. Just gonna say that.
Shout out to
Yeah,
shout out to
yeah.
Deshaun.
Deshaun Kaiser.
Shout out to
What
Deshaun.
I'm team Deshaun Kaiser.
Me too. And I don't even like Cleveland.
I don't like Cleveland
They're
either.
having a
I
couple
love
of the,
Deshaun Kaiser. That's my
The
dude.
Shout out to
NFL
Deshaun. Hate
prognosticators who have just come out and said that Deshaun Kaiser is still a much better prospect than any of these guys coming out of
mean
college
that
right
bum
now.
from
That it
USC?
would be a shame.
And he started 15
and
games.
stupid
Yeah.
for,
He
for
started
the
15
Cleveland
games.
Browns to go ahead and waste one
Started
of their
15
top
games.
picks on a quarterback. But we shall see. But transitioning into the NFL draft system that what is it called? The combine.
The
That was
combine.
going on down in Indianapolis.
I'm not gonna
There
talk
are-
about how I feel about the combine.
Okay, there are three prospects who I kind of want to talk about what kind of went on.
I like where you're going with this because I
too.
like the
With
ones
them.
you picked.
I do too. I like the ones you picked.
First
I
off-
got one more to talk about after that. I think. But yeah.
I put that one in there
Okay.
too. I'm sure we.
Oh
we're
no,
looking at
not that. But I'm talking about a combine kid.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
one. All right.
Okay.
So, Shaquem Griffin from University of
Absolutely.
Central Florida.
Absolutely. Let's
Shout
root
out
for
to
that. Let's
Shaquem
root for that
Griffin,
kid.
man.
I don't care who that kid ends up with.
No,
Let's
I'm gonna
root for him.
personally.
Please be on an NFL team because he has worked his ass
Hey,
off.
listen,
to
that's
get where he is.
amazing, man.
Dude, it's amazing.
I saw a video when he was like 14.
Yeah, I
and
saw
his,
that
yeah,
shit.
But his pops,
His pops made him some shit
yeah,
so he could
yeah,
work
he's on
out.
a cinder block with his little.
Yeah.
For those
yeah,
of y'all
that's
who
dope,
aren't
man.
familiar, Shaquem Griffin is a Defensive Player of the Year from the University of Central Florida, who has basically half of an arm.
Yes.
That he plays football with, and he plays at a high level with. And when it was time for him to do his testing that they do, some of the things that they do, he ran the fastest linebacker time in the past 20 years. He ran like a 4.38.
Faster than Adrian
Since they've
Peterson.
been recording.
faster than
Faster than Adrian Peterson.
Faster than
just think about
Ezekiel
that.
Elliott.
Faster than Zeke.
yeah.
Faster than Zeke.
Yeah.
And that's fucking fast.
Yeah, so this is a linebacker that did that. So and he,
Zeke runs fast.
and he put up 20 reps.
He did.
With one fucking hand.
25 pounds
one fucking
on the
hand.
bench press.
Damn.
With
That's
one
impressive.
hand.
Yeah. So this is
With one hand.
This
Hey,
is
if
an
you're not
impressive-
familiar with the combine, that's impressive.
yeah,
That's impressive.
It's very impressive. So we're definitely rooting for that young man. And now we have a gentleman, Troy Apke from Penn State University. Now the reason that we brought up Troy is because of the reaction that one Deion Sanders had when he saw this young man from Penn State run his 40-yard
moving.
dash time.
Neon
Deion.
Deion.
He said
He was
said
moving.
not only can he run, he can run. And the guy ended up running a 4.35 as a
Wow.
safety. And
Wow.
What? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of wow.
I didn't see that. No, I didn't
he
see
ran
that
a
one.
4.35. It's something. It's very ridiculous. The speed.
No, that's fast,
And
fast.
the reason, of course, there's been fast football players all the time, but the reason why it was so jaw-dropping and eye-popping for Deion Sanders, and I tell you what, it was
Deion
just
Sanders
fun.
ran
No, that and
he ran a
this guy's white.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got that whole
Jason
racial thing.
Sehorn was the fastest.
That was like
before
watching the
that.
Olympics.
He was
I was like,
It was a white sprinter.
yeah,
like,
one white sprinter. I was like, no shit.
Y'all know
moving out, moving out.
Do y'all know Jason Sehorn in college? This is just some random shit that I heard on NFL Network. Jason Sehorn in college used to wear full. This
Yeah,
is
he did.
before
He
everybody did. He wore full,
Sure did.
long sleeve shirts.
You
and
can look that
gloves
up right now, and they'll show.
full
They got
pants
pictures of it on
because
online.
he didn't want people to know he was
Yep.
white.
He was fast
because
as
he
hell.
was fast as hell,
Yeah.
and he didn't think
Really?
people would believe it, so he would cover
he sure
his
did.
skin.
It's the truth,
now,
though.
Now, once again, I'm gonna say this shit.
Watch the Olympics.
Don't hold it against me.
No, it's fine. Say what
Don't
you
hold it
say.
against me. But how many times have you known a white person to cover their white skin?
No. Well, me and my
But he's
buddy
playing
back home
football.
always say, there are a lot of us white guys out here always say, I'm like, such a waste of white skin. So that was me and my buddy
He's not
John's
living
thing.
up
We
to
would
his
say, be
potential.
like, man,
So yeah,
fucking it up.
Troy Apke, he definitely ran that time. Another former football player who was very, very fast that people wouldn't even know right now. Chris Collinsworth.
Oh, he was fast.
Chris
Collinsworth, yeah, he
Chris
was listed like-
Chris Collinsworth, who does the announcements on
And I
NBC.
hate him talking.
Man,
I hate him
stop talking.
He
Play
won-
football again.
receiver.
Can you play
Yeah.
football again? Because
Yeah,
your
he-
talking is fucking
he
horrible.
won the 100 meters as a high school student.
Really?
Oh yeah, he was the fastest guy in the state of
So,
Florida.
In
Chris
Florida?
Collinsworth.
Yes.
And that says a lot.
Listen,
Yeah.
this you don't want to separate these things, but Chris Collinsworth is the second best white receiver in the NFL in the history
Other
of
than
the NFL.
Steve Largent? Is that
Other
what
than
we're saying?
Steve,
Other than Steve
other than
Largent,
Steve Largent.
yes.
Steve Largent
Yes.
is possibly my favorite receiver ever.
I hated him because
No,
he played for
Steve
Seattle.
Largent was cold,
He
man.
played for Seattle, and I like
He was
Denver,
cold,
so
man.
I don't like
Steve Largent was one of the best
Steve
receivers in the
Fuck
the
Steve
game.
Largent.
Yeah, that's
Fuck
right. It
Steve
was in your
Largent.
division.
That's why I said fuck Steve Largent.
Yeah, right. And
Back in the day, old school.
And
I'm
on
old
a
as
more
fuck.
on a more serious topic that was going on in the personnel aspect of the combine, Darius Geis, a player, was in the interview portion
Shady.
of the combine, and basically one of the teams came at him and asked him, "Do you like boys?"
Yeah, I heard about
Yeah,
this.
yeah. Does your mother sell herself?
Sell herself.
So he handled it calmly and he explained how he answered and everything.
Did a good job with
First off, that's illegal as fuck.
It is, and the
Yeah,
NFL,
why they
is,
even
the
asked him
NFL, is,
that?
the
That-
NFL is into it right now,
Yeah.
and I'm waiting to see which.
This is not the
teams-
first year.
No,
This-
it's
I
not
don't know
the
if y'all
first
know.
year.
So
it's not
who
the first
asked
year
him
they
this?
did
Because
that.
I seen it
No,
randomly
they
on a
won't-
feed.
They
So
haven't
they-
said
they
it
won't-
yet.
they
The
won't-
NFL
they
is
won't say it.
investigating because once again, the NFL has to have the stance,
They won't say
which they
it.
should have the stances. That's not an okay question.
No, of course
There's
it's
a
not.
million fucking questions you can
Listen,
ask a kid.
Listen,
Yeah.
let me
Not
just
do
say
you like
this.
boys, and does your
You
mother?
should be asking what the fuck's going
In
on with football.
terms
Why would
of
you even ask
in
him what's
terms
going
of
on?
what leagues do things right, and this is not because I'm a basketball player or a former basketball player. This is not because of that.
You still play on Tuesdays now? Not a former. What the fuck?
The NBA.
Not a former.
We old man league in it.
I'm-
We old man league.
Look at it. The YMCA
Listen,
keeps
I'm gonna
old
tell you right now,
motherfuckers
the
hooping
NBA
forever.
does a very good job of their social issues, handling them.
They do.
Whether they're not siding with anyone,
No, they're
but
not.
they do a better job of letting people be who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And the NFL does a horrible job of it. They do a horrible job of it. They need, and listen, NFL, y'all need to get y'all shit together.
Yeah, they've been
Or
fucking
just
up.
get
They've
your
been
shit
fucking
together.
up, haven't they?
You got that
Yeah, but
right.
fucking up royally. Fucking up royally.
And just to piggyback
Listen,
on,
I love the NFL. Y'all made me waste a whole fucking season. I didn't watch the whole fucking season,
Let it
and
go,
I wanted
Mike.
to.
Good point.
So I'm pissed about that. Get y'all shit together.
Hashtag NFL, I'm pissed at you.
and just to piggyback off of what you were talking about as far as the NBA being better ahead of the curve on all these sort of issues. Here recently, DeMar DeRozan of the first place in the East, Toronto Raptors, and Kevin Love of
Kevin
the third
Love.
place in the East,
LA
Cleveland
also.
Cavaliers. They both came out to talk about their issues that they've struggled with their mental health.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kevin Love with panic attacks, and DeMar DeRozan with manic depressive issues and everything, and just being able to
It needs
come
to be
out,
said.
Two very serious
it needs
issues.
to
yeah,
be
it's a
said.
serious issue. And
needs
to
to be said.
think about just when we were coming up as far as watching some of the players that we would consider some of the best players in the world from our era, you would have never heard Kareem Abdul-Jabbar mention anything about him having some troubles with his mental health.
No, you wouldn't.
You would
No, you wouldn't.
you would have never heard
you wouldn't.
Elgin
Cap.
Baylor or
Never heard Michael
Larry-
Jordan,
Larry Bird,
Larry
or,
Bird,
you
Magic
know,
Johnson,
any of
Isaiah
those-
Thomas.
yeah,
like
yeah.
you would have
It's
never
a-
heard these guys say that.
It's a different time that someone could even be open, because in that Cavaliers locker room, Kevin Love's mental issue was a point of contention where they had to even have a team meeting about why wasn't he on the bench, why wasn't he playing, and the reason they shipped that little dude, whatever his name is,
Hey, man.
little dude, they
Isaiah
shipped that
Thomas,
little dude
man.
out there to them LA
Isaiah
Fakers.
Thomas,
They-
man.
they-
Whoa, hold
they-
on,
they-
hold
they
on.
sent
This
that
is
little
not a
dude to
spot
the-
for you to throw shade to LA.
is
Lakers.
not.
It's not a spot for
Well, I'll even say too, like
I'm gonna throw shade to the Lakers anytime I can.
Hey, we looking good though.
I feel bad
ahead.
for the shit that went on with Derrick Rose
Right.
because
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, man, this man beat himself up for Chicago, and
did.
then people talked a lot of shit when he,
Yep.
took
And I'm
a
a
step
Bulls
away from the
fan, so I-
Cavaliers
yeah.
for a way,
No,
right?
that's what I said.
And I'm thinking, man, like, can you imagine
No,
what's
there's
going through your
something wrong.
mind?
There's
Like, you
something
got your
wrong.
career
when
on the
players,
line.
when
Wrong.
players
You
do
know what I'm
things
saying?
like that and take their time for themselves, I applaud them because listen, you never know what's happening.
You
And
never know.
Archie Bees is a Pistons fan, and they definitely ruined my boy's career.
Well,
Grant
I'll
Hill
even-
out here
Yep.
sacrificing everything,
Grant
playing
Hill's from
every
Baltimore.
single. He's from B-more, sacrificing everything
throw
to play
something
for
out
these
about that when you're
fools,
ready.
and it messed his career up. You know what I'm saying?
Shaved his ankle down to the bone.
Yeah,
and
you
to the
know,
bone.
like a lot of these,
But you know
of
what?
people don't know what the players go
that's-
through to sacrifice,
and
and,
This is
then when
true.
they want to
This is
take time
true.
for themselves,
The difference is
people have issues with it.
that's the difference. If Grant Hill would have started playing today, they would have never shaved his ankle down.
No, they
Oh no,
would've just
absolutely
sat
not,
out.
absolutely
You
not.
know what I'm saying?
They would've
Like
shut
I
him
said,
down.
that's a
But the
different.
time was different.
Like I said,
I gotta play.
in the
you know,
NFL.
I don't want to miss no
and once
games.
again, I hate to
you
come
know.
back to the NFL, but once again, Ronnie Lott had a choice
Hey, cut his finger
to
off.
cut his finger off or sit out.
Yeah.
The story goes
And he
this: Ronnie
said,
Lott didn't even have a
"Fuck it."
choice. Ronnie Lott told them to cut my finger.
Yeah, Ronnie Lott
He
said,
made the
cut
he
my
said,
finger off.
I
No,
wanna-
Ronnie
yeah.
Lott chose that.
Yeah.
They asked him,
Yeah.
you
That's
can
some
miss.
Van Gogh shit.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
You can miss a
Cut it
couple
off.
weeks. Yeah, you can miss a couple weeks or cut my fucking finger off. And Ronnie Lott said, cut my fucking finger off.
Cut it off, baby.
Once again,
Damn.
it's a different, and once again, I'm happy that in sports and in life that there's a more say-so for everybody of how they feel and how they are. Because once again, people are brain dead right now.
True.
Because they were too afraid to say that I'm hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And you don't
yeah.
want that.
CTE is a real
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
but not to veer too far off of what Bees was talking about. Mental health is a serious thing.
Serious thing.
and it needs to be brought to the forefront more because I mean, I honestly can say, I lost a loved one to never mind. I just want to say this. It's serious. You never know what somebody's going to.
You never know.
You know what I'm saying?
Never
You never know what
You never
somebody's
know.
going through.
The
and,
facade they put out
and
might
never,
not be their
never
real
take
life.
that for granted. So I shout out to I'm a Kevin Love fan at this point. I already was a DeMar DeRozan fan.
Absolutely.
I'm a Kevin
Did you see
Love
what he did
fan
last
because I respect what he did and what he's saying, how he's stepping up and letting people know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I
Sorry.
respect
Went
that.
in
I
and
respect
jumped on my
Single-handedly,
business.
Bees.
Yeah.
Single-handedly pulled
Fuck
his
DeMar
entire
DeRozan,
dick
man.
out on your
Yeah.
business.
Anyway,
He pulled his entire dick out on your business.
Pause.
No, that's what he did.
I'm on the pause.
No pause.
He literally pulled his dick out of Detroit and said, "Everybody, look at this. Everybody, look at this."
shit.
Well, okay, real fast. Since we are in March Madness, Mike, you're
Come on,
Yeah.
man. Duke.
No. I'm not talking about that.
Duke.
I'm
Okay.
talking about you personally. Your last tournament game playing basketball in college.
Like so
Who'd you
I
play
didn't
for?
make
I'm
it to
interested.
the I
I'm
didn't make it
interested
to
to
the NCAA tournament. So I don't know. But the tournament is
Yeah, I'm
special
talking about,
to
No,
me.
you're talking about your,
I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Your, I'm talking about
your last game. Your last college
Right.
game.
So okay,
Your
so let
last
me go
college
through
game.
this. Let me go through this. This is a big deal. And I'm not shouting out anybody, you know my deal, right? You know my deal about them.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love all the people that I play with and for. The school, Okay, so here's my
Cool.
thing.
You mind if I ask?
I'll let you know.
All right.
But
We're not trying to pump them up.
nah,
pumping 'em
bruh,
up.
no. But I would say this
I'ma
was
pump mine up,
it was
though.
emotional
pump mine
because
up, though.
it was emotional because you kind of know like this is the end. But at the time I didn't really know it was the end because I had some opportunities to go play overseas.
You don't feel like that.
So and
our
I
friends
could
that
have
play in
and I
Germany,
absolutely
back home, yeah.
I absolutely
You don't feel like-
could
you never
have
feel like
I
it's
absolutely
dead.
could have played overseas. I had opportunities to go. Lord works in mysterious ways, and Kayla, shout out to you. But you know what I mean. But
my daughter is on the
it was
same.
like so when you see the end of March Madness and they play the song and all that, that's emotional because
tough.
it's like you go through war, through battle.
Man.
I don't want to say war, but it's battle with these
It's
people.
battle.
You go on trips with them. You have all these experiences with them.
90% of
And
your
then,
life
yeah,
with these people,
yeah,
though.
yeah. So on
90% of
a
your life.
podcast before, we talked about a fraternity, and I mentioned I didn't need to be in a fraternity because I had one, college basketball.
You absolutely.
So it is bittersweet. You're happy because you accomplished playing college basketball,
Yeah.
but when it's over, you feel like I still want to be in there and do these things. At the time, I felt like I was still gonna play, so I wasn't really that sad. But I was sad about not being around the people.
The guys,
anymore.
yeah.
You always
The
miss that.
camaraderie. The
You always
camaraderie.
miss that. No matter what level it is, high school, whether it's rec league,
That's what I
you
said,
miss
right.
the
You miss the
camaraderie
camaraderie.
of playing basketball.
Yeah.
Sports is an amazing thing. It teaches you a lot of things.
Teach you a lot.
It teaches people who come from areas where they don't see other kinds of people to accept those other kinds of people. It teaches
got a
people.
common goal.
It teaches people fairness. It teaches people rules. It teaches a lot of things. So I always say, put your kids in sports at a early age. I'm done off my soapbox.
Joy, why don't you go ahead and share your last experience as far as March Madness and how you felt? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
like I said-
it's a big deal. I mean, it's something that you, as an athlete, you take with you for the rest of your life.
My last experience, like I said, I went to the University of Rio Grande. Shout out to Rio Grande.
Wow, great.
Love them to death. You know what I'm saying? Right.
The big
Way out in the
river.
middle of nowhere. Way out in the middle of nowhere.
It's
But
fine,
listen,
it's
I
fine.
will tell you
Big
this.
river.
I will tell you this from going to Rio Grande that I literally, Bob Evans, the Bob Evans, knew me and called me Joey when I walked in. When he was there, Bob Evans knew me. Me and Bob Evans
You know
was
what?
cool.
That is.
The Bob
that's
Evans,
dope,
like,
yeah.
the
Sausage
people-
Not
Chuck,
just
yeah.
Bob, not just
Yeah.
Bob Evans, the Bob
Bob
Evans.
Evans.
Oh, and you know what? I should have
Down on
shouted
your
out
arm,
my.
Bob
I
Evans.
should have shouted out my junior college
That's what
because
I'm
I like them.
Absolutely.
But forget it.
But
Shout
once
out to
again,
Flint though.
When I knew it was over, and like I said, I went to college to play basketball. I walked on later in life because I did some dumb shit before life.
Oh,
so
that's
I
all
was,
of us, right?
I was a little older, you know what I'm saying? When I went to college, I went to Rio Grande. They accepted me. I still have friends and family from that team that I talk to this day.
Absolutely,
I
still
love
do
them
right now. Me
motherfuckers,
too.
and I always will.
Yep.
And once again, when we lost our last game, of course the shit hurt.
Yeah.
But like I said, I have forged friendships that will never be
Yeah,
broken.
yeah, yeah.
So it's worth it.
That's a
I
fact.
got a college degree and friendships forever.
That's a fact.
I think I won.
No, it's all a win.
I wasn't going to
And I
nobody
always
league.
tell-
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't going
tell,
to the NBA.
I tell the girls that I
Wasn't
coach
tripping.
right now, because I coach high school basketball, and I tell them right now, listen, go get your school paid for. It's a win. It's the best thing. So I accomplished that for sure. It's a win. No matter what happens after that, it's a win for you. You know,
It's a
you
win.
get your school paid for.
Yes, school paid for.
It's
School paid for it.
because education, college is becoming the second biggest racket in the country.
definitely a
I'll
racket.
talk about
That's
that.
a
Right.
whole
You know,
nother. That's another show.
Yeah,
That's another show.
You know, hoop dreams are real. I mean, welcome to the Roundtable Podcast hosted by Three Kings Clothing, episode 4 of this
Yeah.
podcast. The hashtag hoop dreams. I'm telling you, I mean, all of us had them. My hoop dream ended a little bit earlier than y'all's as far as in the tournament. It was in high school against Craig Michaelis, who was a hell of a player in my year. They Whitmer beat us by 1. Ended up messing around, doing a little some Division III, but I like being on the radio and drinking 40 ounces more than I like getting up at 5:30 in the morning to hoop. So
Well, that's why it took me a few years to get to college.
yeah.
Because I like cigarettes,
So,
liquor, and weed. I liked a lot of stuff
Things of those-
that wasn't conducive to what a normal athlete was doing.
Now,
But I give you 40 in the gym, though.
I heard that. Now, even getting into our politics segment, is still about a hoop dream that's going on here locally, and one motherfucker who is trying to stop a whole neighborhood of children and young adults from achieving their hoop dream. What happened at Joey Brown Park here in Toledo, Ohio, is a
Yeah, I heard
travesty
about this.
that the official from the Toledo Water Initiative brought about. Let me break it down real fast. What happened? What they did is they dug up a park, and they've been they had to do a drainage system because Toledo's water is all jacked up and the runoff is all bad. But to get out of the minutiae, this very big park was a part of my neighborhood basically that they totally redid. And when it came to city council, one of the people that was involved in doing the planning of what's going to be in the refurbished park was there and in front of city council, and he was asked a simple question. Why aren't basketball hoops being put at Joey Brown Park? And basically, this gentleman said the kind of crowd that basketball hoops bring, that kind of crowd is not worthy.
He said it.
That kind of, at the council meeting.
So
Out
AKA.
loud.
So AKA.
It's not that type of crowd is not worthy.
The basketball crowd.
Of having basketball courts at that new refurbished park. Now they have inline skating, which is great because
everyone's doing that since the
Everybody's
90s.
doing that.
It's a sign of the times. It's a sign of the times, though.
No, hold on.
Everyone's inline playing.
Joey Brown has always had baseball diamonds, so they brought those back.
Yeah.
They brought out some new tennis courts. There were always tennis courts at the far end of Joey Brown Park. There was a basketball set up out there as well, but this guy in his power. And he said it right to city council that, you know what, those people over there, not worthy.
Just Tropic Thunder?
I want y'all to talk about.
Ain't some Will Ferrell shit, right?
Hey, Joey.
Yes,
now,
sir.
the neighborhood
sir.
that you grew up in, talk about the park that you grew up in and how much of a impact that it had on all the people in that particular neighborhood. Both of y'all.
Joey Brown's North End, right?
Joey Brown's
Joey
north,
Brown's
but
definitely
the
north.
park-
So that's right around the corner from me then, because
Yes.
I'm Carolina
No,
Bush.
he's Carolina
Yeah,
Bush.
it's
All right.
not-
No,
not
that's
too far,
absolutely.
not
That's
too far, not too
absolutely.
far at all.
Yeah.
But talk about what that basketball court in y'all neighborhood and what it meant to so many people.
Well, I'm gonna tell you two stories. First of all,
Name the court. Name the
Oh
court.
no, trust me, I'm gonna name both of the courts. And when I was little, you know what I'm saying? Now, granted, once again, it's not Women's Day anymore, but shout out to my mother again because my mother put a half court in my backyard for her baby to play basketball, which is what the fuck I love to do. But when I wasn't in my backyard, we went to Ryder Park when I was little. So, and once again, I'm not old enough to know who decided to close Ryder fucking Park. I don't know who closed it, but they did. They cut the fucking rims off of Ryder Park. So guess where we went after Ryder Park?
Where'd you go?
We went to the fucking pond. And
Yo.
guess what the fucking pond did?
Yo.
The pond made legends.
Yo.
The pond made legends.
I'll
I'm
put
gonna
my
tell you
hand
what.
up.
Now, where's the pond? I'm sorry.
The pond
Sleepy
is
Hollow.
Dorr and Richards.
Okay.
Richards.
Okay.
And there's a little pond down there, but there's a basketball court.
Pond
Now,
made me
there
go
are
to
tennis
Pond
courts.
made me go to school for free. That's what the
Listen,
pond did.
That's what the pond did. The pond made me drive from my house, which was only 2 minutes away, and put my beeper on the fence and go play basketball. That's what the pond did.
Man.
That's what the pond
Made
did.
me ride my bike, dribble my ball down
did
there.
everything because the
all
pond
that
was-
stuff.
the
And
pond
it
was
built
the shit.
character because you couldn't just go down there and be
You couldn't just be,
and
yeah.
be
once
not
again,
ready to do something. So.
You could go down there
was a
and not
serious
be
place.
that good,
Yeah.
and you're going to play one game.
Well, see, I was always that guy on the sideline smoking blunts. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, hold on, listen.
Pond had plenty of that.
I was that guy. I was that guy.
Plenty of that.
The pond was that too. The pond was that too. Now, don't get the pond
enough.
wrong,
Plenty of that.
because
I'm a
once
wallflower on that level.
again, the pond used to play basketball because
Shoot
there were
dice.
rims down there, but there was gambling going on.
There was
Like
gambling.
I said, there
Crap,
was all
CeeLo,
shit.
everything
There
that's
was
good. Right, I
everything.
get you. I
Listen,
get
there was
you.
CeeLo, craps, everything.
Listen, the pond was shaping young men.
It was definitely entertainment
to
while
be
you waited.
grown men.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no, I
I
get
said,
it.
you might go to play
Yeah.
basketball, or you might just win $1,500.
Well, it's like I
Who
was-
the fuck knows
well,
what
it's
you're
like-
going down there
yeah.
for?
Now,
Yeah,
now,
you
now,
might
now,
sing
now,
your first-
here's the thing about it. Even though those sorts of activities were going on, there was minimal violence because
There was
people
no violence
were
at the pond.
the-
Well, maybe.
Well, maybe to Toledo, maybe yeah.
I mean, when you bring people together anywhere,
Oh, yeah.
there's violence at city council meetings.
Well, I
So-
saw violence at the pond. I saw my first pistol at the pond.
There was violence at the pond, but that was
young,
because the pond became back then. Like I'm an old motherfucker because I am.
You are.
But back then, you know what I'm saying? Every side there was.
It wasn't bad like that.
There was a north side.
It definitely
park.
wasn't bad
Yeah.
like that.
There was a south side park.
Gotcha.
There was an east side park.
Gotcha.
So once again, when you were good, you would go to other parks.
Yes. You
Now-
battle it out, right?
And granted, sometimes it might be more people from this side of this park that might have a problem at the pond because of who we were.
It's going to be a fight.
And it's going to be a
So,
fight.
Okay.
But it's just a
Oh
fight.
no, it wasn't nothing like that.
Just
It
a
was, but
fight.
it was a safe place for sure.
It was a safe place.
You know.
But I mean, there was fights. I mean, shit, there's fights everywhere.
Yeah, you know,
It's
stuff-
just,
stuff
as long as
comes
it's
up.
hands,
Everything,
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
can be
yeah.
resolved.
hands are fine.
Everything can be resolved.
Hands are
from
fine.
there.
I can fight you tomorrow, or I cannot.
Yeah.
If you kill
a
me,
lot of lessons
once
got
again,
learned at the pond for
the
sure.
shit
It was a
gets-
good place.
Shit is different.
Let me break down what our new mayor had to say about what this gentleman
Wade.
said. Mayor Wade Kastakevich. He said, and I quote, our honorable Mayor Wade Kastakevich. Statements made by a
our mayor?
city employee to Toledo City Council yesterday regarding basketball
Dude,
courts
no.
at Joey Brown Park do not
don't,
reflect
bro.
my
That'd be
views
so
and
horrible,
beliefs
bro.
or the views and beliefs of my administration. He made comments he heard at some point years before I was mayor and the Joey Brown Park Project basketball courts. As I said yesterday, public spaces like parks are to be enjoyed by all members of the community.
Right.
Whether he was articulating his own opinion or attempting to summarize some misguided opinions of others, he does not have the power to set policy of the administration. And he went on to say some other things. But, okay, all right, Mayor WK. Yeah, he doesn't have the power, allegedly, to set policy. But you know what he did have? He had the power to make sure that those basketball courts weren't in the original plan. And if that councilwoman wouldn't have brought up where are the basketball courts at, it would have just went right on through. Nobody would have said anything, and there could have been young kids that had the opportunity to get their education paid for free. I'm not talking about professional basketball because there's not too many professional basketball players that have come from Toledo, but there are plenty of basketball players who have gotten their educations paid for free or had partial scholarships or even went to Division III like I did to play basketball to continue a recreation and be able to be a young person with an activity, doing some things.
Yeah.
And that gentleman doing that, was it was such nonsense, and I'm just very, very, very much against that.
Well, and who
situation.
knows that if future NBA players can come out? It's like
I mean,
I was
you don't know.
I was telling you earlier, like where I came from. So, where I grew up in Dundalk, on the outskirts of Baltimore City. We had Turner Station. Turner Station was actually a historically black community,
lot of ballers from there.
which Grant Hill came from. Not to mention my brother's friends with Rudy Gay. So Rudy came from the
got
same
Rudy
area.
Gay in
The first black astronaut. I'm talking
in a-
for some reason this area.
And in a bigger scope from that same DMV, you got Michael Beasley, you got
Yes,
Kevin Durant,
yes.
you got
Juan
Carmelo
Dixon,
for
I
some
mean,
point
Juan
in time.
Dixon,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Juan Dixon, who had a 15-year
yeah.
NBA
But
career.
you don't know who's going to come out of
You
these
don't. You
situations.
don't.
and you don't know, not even about who comes out of the situation that you know as on a famous level. That might have been that thing that just saved this person's life.
No,
It just changed his life. That don't say.
And what else do you
Not
have for
even his
recreation?
life, and not even his life, but his friends,
someone
his
else around
family,
him.
everybody around him.
Think about some.
So
of the,
you're talking about a
think
hell of a thing.
Think about some of the characters that we have played basketball with and against in these parks around here in the city of Toledo. That if it wasn't
They could
for
have been
that
doing some
park,
real
some
reckless
of the
stuff.
things that they were up to
Yeah.
were not so kosher.
They
so
might have spent
No,
5-6
it's
hours
that
a day
word.
playing ball when they could have been doing something crazy.
Yeah.
All of us.
All of us.
I mean,
Absolutely.
how will
Every
we
one
know
of
that
us.
that's what we wanted to do?
So here's my suggestion. City Council meets on March 13th at 4 p.m. That's a Tuesday. Anybody within the scope of hearing my voice right now, if you've ever picked up a basketball and shot a hoop in the city of Toledo at a park, I would hope that you could show yourself to the council meeting to go up to the open microphone when they open it up and just share what playing basketball at your particular park that you grew up in meant to you.
Your particular park.
Yeah, and because
'Cause there's so many in the city of Toledo.
There's so many, and there have been those that have been closed down for reasons that this guy who may or may not get named as the Dan of the week later on in the show. But we're gonna. I want to get to know our guests a little bit better.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, John.
You have the floor.
Yeah.
All right.
You have the floor.
High school and college. Where did you go? And during your formative ages, what do you think went on with you to get you to be at this point here in Toledo right now on the mission, what you're doing right now?
All right, I'll give you the run and short of it. You know, I was raised Mormon, actually.
Really?
Yeah, Mormon and agnostic, father, school teacher. And actually, he's a hooper. He actually went to school with Dave Hoopla. You familiar with the Hoopla videos?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Hoopla
I
went to
am.
Dundalk High School, which is where I went to high school.
Okay.
Dreams,
And
baby.
Hoopla is like, what, 99.8 every damn day of the week, right? And he's now retired and, of course, hits down them senior centers, as I was telling you before,
Absolutely.
dunking on them old men.
Yeah.
So he's getting satisfaction out of that. But, no, so, you know, I had to get along with my parents at a certain age, and I had moved out of my house when I was 16, moved over on the west side of Baltimore with my grandmother. So I kept going to the same high school. So I was taking mass transit every day, you know, 2-hour ride from the west side of Baltimore to the east side of Baltimore to school. For me being kind of a very naive.
went to school.
Yeah, well, for me
That's a
being a
hell of a
naive, you know, I mean, I'm a naive Mormon kid that's never been
Right.
around any kind of urban element,
Right.
and now I'm thrown into the city every day.
Yeah.
every day.
You know,
That's
and
it.
every
That's
day.
it.
So
Every
it
day.
opened
Body
up a
more.
whole nother spectrum of that. And my mom was always very influential to where she, even prior to that, she always had us going to black churches in the city.
Okay.
My mom wanted us to be cultured. She wanted us to be around different people and respect people for who they were and understand people.
We talked about that earlier,
So
right.
yeah, like with shout outs to mothers,
That's what
right?
I said,
You know what I
right.
mean?
Shout out to
It
mothers.
starts at
No doubt,
home,
no
right?
doubt.
Absolutely.
And so I got out of high school. I was a trouble kid, had problems with authority. I went to the Army. You know, now the Army was some bullshit, and we could talk about that too, right?
We're not gonna,
we can talk about that
that's
too.
a whole other show.
Yeah, whole
That's
nother
a whole
show.
nother show.
Whole nother show.
Whole
Uncle
other
Sugar,
show.
baby.
So I got out of that, and you know, I the minute
How
I got
many years did you serve?
it was 6. It would have been
Oh,
6
wow, you did
total.
6. Okay.
Yeah, I know it was reserves, but keep in mind
Okay, but
9/11 happened. Everybody got activated.
Everybody,
and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff.
So you were
Yeah.
there. You were there.
So I got out. I ran for the Maryland State House. So if you remember crooked ass Martin O'Malley that ran
Yes,
for
I do.
president,
I do.
well, you know why he bowed out when the Baltimore riots happened. You notice you didn't hear from him.
Yes.
He caused that shit with those 3 strikes you're out mandatory
Yeah,
sentences.
absolutely.
He was locking young African American men up.
Yeah.
For I'm talking
Anything.
marijuana charge.
Yes, that's what I said. And
Oh, you got a blunt?
life.
Okay, 1.
Yeah.
Blunt,
Yeah.
2, 3, boom.
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
you're
Take
done.
a room.
Life.
Yeah.
Y'all boy Bill Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
Did
Oh,
that.
yeah.
No,
Oh,
he
yeah.
didn't
Put
really.
that at all.
Bill Clinton
Oh,
was
yeah.
the one
Oh,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
But like
Bill
you
Clinton
said,
made it popular, but everybody
Maryland,
followed suit.
the
O'Malley's Carcetti in The Wire.
absolutely.
And that's why they
He's
hate
the
The
real
Wire.
Carcetti.
Yeah, he's the real
okay,
Carcetti.
Yeah.
He's the real
And
Carcetti.
for you
Real
Wire
Carcetti.
fans, he's
Yeah.
talking about, y'all
Yeah,
go
because-
research that.
The Wire.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
y'all
because-
don't know what he's talking about,
Yes.
please watch
Yes,
The Wire.
please
because,
do.
because
Please
he
watch
went
The
from
Wire.
the first white mayor in the city of Baltimore since like the 60s or so, or 70s, to the Maryland State House, and he brought those sort of
Brought those views.
Dicronian drug
Oh,
laws
yeah.
with him to the State House, and he
Oh,
was,
yeah, he definitely
Yeah.
did.
and he was
So-
locking
so-
everybody up. You know, he was trying to make sure he got those that Anne Arundel County vote.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely continue.
I'm
yeah.
pretty good with my geography.
No, you are. No, I appreciate it.
I know a couple couple of things.
Yeah, no, because I loved it when he bowed out. I'm like, there ain't no way in hell I'd vote for that man for my president. You know, I'm thinking,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So moving on to what happened from there, I ran for the Maryland State House. So I was at events with Martin and with different judges, and I was just a young kid that was like, look, the shit is crooked, you know, and I have an issue with it. I came far from winning.
Right.
But it was
But you
the
win,
fact
though.
I'm 23 years old.
Right,
Now I got
you're in
baby
it.
face now,
That's
right?
it,
I'm
you're in it.
35. Don't
Right,
look
you're
like
in it. You're
I
in
was
it.
23 looking like a 15-year-old boy. But, you know, saying what I was saying. And then I got done with that. Me and my brother opened a shirt shop. We printed shirts. We did embroidery. Business partner.
Shout out to Three
not
Kings
a good-
Clothing.
You know how that goes with the business partners, right? And that was around 07, 08.
Okay.
So then I got into a little bit of real estate downtown Baltimore. Actually, I was right across from the prison. And but down there, you're talking about you buy a brick townhome shell, that's $500,000.
Right.
You know, you can get in on something there, and that's where I'm gonna, you know, lateral that here to
Transition into-
Toledo,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
We
when
talked
I
about
had
that
to
earlier.
fold on that is when I decided I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I'm not paying the money. Now keep in mind, I've been robbed a couple times by kids. I've always actually been more weary of children than adults.
Oh, yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I've had my
it's a
do you know
smart
what
play.
time it is session.
that's
It's
what
like
I
time to get
said.
robbed.
It's a smart play.
And as I was gonna say, the only pistol I seen here in the city was at the beer dock on Huron.
Right.
But still was some bullshit. And I'm like, come on, man, get the
Right.
fuck out of here with this
Right.
shit. And, you know,
Right.
walk down. Yeah.
And once again,
Yeah.
children have nothing to lose.
No, well, and that's what's scary
don't
about
know
it. Kids
what-
don't
they
know what
don't
they're
know.
doing.
They have
They
nothing
don't
to
know what
lose.
they doing.
Yeah.
They have nothing to
Yeah.
lose. They don't
Yeah.
give
They don't
a
know what
fuck.
they're doing.
They can care less.
Yeah.
Care
And
less.
and
Life's
so
long to a child.
So I had some family here that I used to come up and see in Waterville. And I had aunts, some cousins, and slowly they're moving out. And you know how family is, right? I love my family. They've been a big support, helped me out in ways when I first moved here. But we all know how family is sometimes more drama than it's worth,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
sometimes we gotta step to the side for a minute. You know what I mean?
Sit back and watch.
Yeah. So when I stayed in Waterville for a few months, and then I moved down onto Superior Street in LaGrange. Actually, the day Mugshots had to shoot, and then they closed Mugshots down. So my landlord's like, "Are you sure you want to be here?" I'm like, "Man, I'm from Baltimore. I'm good."
Right. Like, it's okay.
I'm all right.
Okay.
I hate that the watering hole is going to get closed
That's
up.
what I said.
But I will say,
That's what I said. This is little violence, but
yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's little
so, and
violence.
for me, like I said, and I just want to point this out. This past year, people, you know, they made a big stand, and I don't want to see any children get shot in this city, any young people,
No,
right?
absolutely.
For sure.
But they had like 30-something murders. Look, Baltimore,
That's a week.
Chicago, that's like 400 like a
That's a
year.
week,
Baltimore
right.
topped the per capita in the country
That's what
this
I-
year.
yeah, that's a
right?
week.
I hate to
One
even
in
put it out
10
there, but
residents
like,
is a heroin
I
addict.
lived
Yeah,
in
that's
Flint
what
for a
we-
couple years, which is smaller than Toledo, and that's nothing for Flint.
That's what I'm getting
No,
at. It's
have
like
you
you
seen-
gotta be
have you seen
grateful for
Netflix?
what you have.
They have a Flint.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I
No, it's
Yeah.
terrible. Dude,
And
Flint
the
is
thing
disgusting.
I didn't
is,
need
it's
to
like
see that,
things.
though.
No, I know
I
you
lived
live
there.
there. But Flint is disgusting. Like, that's terrible. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
no,
I'm sorry.
no, but I'm saying like things could be worse, and when you put it into perspective, it's just like, and that's what we were saying like about the basketball park, right? They're like, oh well, the type of people that were coming, and it's like, look, maybe to you, you're freaking the
Right,
fuck out,
you're freaking out.
but it's because you
You
don't have any
understand-
culture, never been around
No,
any
you
way to
don't
be
have
around
anything.
people.
But that
You don't-
exact comment is the reason why you have to have it there, because
Yeah.
you
Yes.
feel like that's
Yeah.
the type of those are the type of people that need this.
Those are-
The
yes.
type of people that you think that you don't want
Yes.
there
Yes.
are the type of people that need something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
that
know,
individual we
those-
need to throw out to the fucking burbs,
Yeah, yeah.
personally.
Yes.
Get the
But
fuck
once
out of
again-
Toledo if that's
once
not what
again,
you like.
But those are the people that run shit,
Yes.
and they're deciding
They're so disconnected,
shit
man.
for people that don't have a say in anything.
Yeah, totally.
But John, you got a
That's
lot of positive things going on, man. Make sure you touch on some.
Oh,
of
I'm
the things
going
that
to.
you
I got
going
maps
on.
and everything. I haven't even
Yeah,
busted out
please.
the. Yeah, I'll jump right in. So I get here to Toledo. I'm over there. The minute I heard Pro Medica, now keep in mind, 4 years I was grinding, printing T-shirts. I was shit
that
when
grind.
Ravens and 49ers won the Super Bowl. I printed 1,000 T-shirts,
Yeah.
drove to Baltimore, and was rocking.
Nice.
I wish it was a
Like
licensed
that
product.
grind. Yeah.
At that time. So I want to touch on a couple things. First off, I want to bring a little bit of history. There's this book, now don't get it twisted. It's called My Memoirs of the Gay 90s. When it says the gay 90s, it means the
happy
1890s. The happy 90s.
happy
So we'll
1890s.
redefine
Once
terms.
again, who cares?
Yes.
And this
Either
is-
way, it's
who cares
2018,
either way?
right?
It doesn't
Right,
matter
right.
either way. Doesn't matter either way. It's all
So
good.
in this book, there was a doctor that lived here in the 1890s in Vistula, in the North End there. He lived on Huron Street, 800 block, right?
word.
And
Rich ass
he
nigga.
wrote about all. Well, I'm about to get in. It isn't what we all think it was. This is what I'm about to. Until I cracked open this book. For one, Toledo was the gangs of New York. The Irish went up where St. Patrick's was and claimed that hill. And in this book, it said, you were looking to get fucked up, you walked up the hill. Wow. And if there wasn't anybody to fuck up, they fucked themselves up. Wow. And they had a priest up there that kept everything in line. I mean, this city at one point was wild, especially it was all mud. Yeah. It was all mud and swamps, right? So they had to dig and build this city to what it is, and that gets into what I'm talking about now. For us to turn the city into what we want, we need to get our hands dirty as well again.
Absolutely.
And mold this city into what it needs to be. Like I said, I want to recommend that book because it's just the history on that area, and it breaks down what happened in Vistula in the north end, right? So what ended up, it's right on the side. You can, it's old. It's published 1940s, I believe. So what actually happened in the north end? What I thought happened was I thought African Americans started moving in, and then all the white people moved out. What I found from this book is that in the 1890s, everyone started leaving. Mm-hmm. And what happened is that whole area became rooming houses and boarding houses. Yep. So let's just say A.K. Rentals, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
it's a very transient area.
It always has been for 100 years.
To this day.
Yes, to this day.
Right,
to
100
this day.
years to this
so, because I had a certain impression knowing what happened on the East Coast, and I'm thinking, shit, like, did that happen here? I read this. This guy's talking about 1890.
Right.
So it's been 100 years coming, plus, for things to happen in the North End to begin with. So let me get in, to exactly what I have an issue with the revitalization and everything else. I'm happy that things are starting to happen. But what I have a problem is like I said, as I watched Johns Hopkins in Baltimore over a 20-year period buy up the waterfront and push everyone out, you've seen 10, 15, 20, 30, $40,000 townhomes. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden get bought up. These are $500,000 townhomes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, $500,000. $500,000. You go to D.C. right now, a brick shell is $500,000, right?
Harlem,
same thing. Pushing people out, right? You said
full-fledged gentrification.
Yeah, well, exactly. And
so right now, what do you see in Toledo?
So here's the thing. A lot of people are like, and this is where I said the co-signing circle jerk. And I hate, look, I'm just putting the terms like the way it is, right? There's a lot of people that are like, oh, hey, you will do better in Toledo. The reason I started will you do better in Toledo is because you will do better is a given. This shit isn't a given. You're either going to do it or you're not. You're either going to hustle, make money, make moves, or you're not. Yeah. And that's why I say, will you?
Right.
We got to pose the question. Now is a very monumental time in the city with this because besides the fact that I don't look at ProMedica as my savior. Yes, we need corporate interest down there. Right?
Looks good for money to be in the city.
Oh, no, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Great.
It's awesome.
But
around that.
At what cost?
Expense, too. At what expense, too. And I'm going to pull this, and I can't remember the exact speech, and I will, or debate, and I will send it to you guys via YouTube. But there was I believe it was James Baldwin, Malcolm X, and I believe it was with William F. Buckley, and I think it was at Oxford. But it was a whole different debate on what was going on in Black America.
Wonderful debate.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what
and what I'm about to get at here is that he's sitting talking about he called them the bourgeois class, right?
I think we posted that footage on our Instagram last year.
Yeah, it's a great. For one, I'm infatuated with Malcolm X to begin with. Like Paul Mooney and other people as such. I think people get they're like, oh, isn't that kind of racist? I'm like, no, think of where they're coming from. You know what I mean? You're hearing knowledge.
You have to learn about the content before you claim somebody to be something.
Well, yes, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And we all get our feelings hurt nowadays too.
Right? Well, right now,
yes.
and I'm gonna tell you something else, and I don't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
But I'm a huge, because this is the age I was born in, and it comes on now.
I'm sweating. I'm flipping the hat.
That's all right.
I'm a huge Married with Children fan.
Yeah, they get you.
And I will tell you this:
hand in the
Married with Children would not be a show right now. It would never be okay.
No, it wouldn't.
The shit they say on that show is so offensive to every. But that's why it was good.
Any Mel Brooks movie either.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Meanwhile, look at Blazing Saddles. And meanwhile, keep in mind, Mel Brooks wrote all the black parts, and Richard Pryor wrote all the white parts.
That's what I'm saying.
That was their funny thing with it, right?
Exactly.
You can go back to All in the Family. You can go back to the Jefferson, San Francisco.
You can't say none of that shit no more, man.
You can't say none of that shit anymore.
All this stuff.
So once again, now we are a better society now. Hold on. We're a better society now because of what we can't say about other people.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like, I get that because nobody deserves to feel bad about themselves.
Can I say, I feel like it's stopped us from being able to having conversations.
You got to be able to have a rational conversation.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm happy that. Okay.
No.
That's what I said.
I'm
I'm happy that once again, I'm happy that athletes don't have to play through concussions.
Yes.
I'm happy that homosexuals do not have to hide the fact that they're homosexuals for fear of being
Killed.
Yeah.
anything.
Killed.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said,
Yeah,
once again,
flat
I'm
out.
not a
It's
Kardashian
killed,
fan,
you know what I mean?
but I'm happy that Bruce Jenner can be a woman, and that's okay right now.
Yeah.
Because once again, we should
Well,
not
it's
persecute.
kind of not, because transgender people, especially transgender women of color, are being murdered at
That is
at a
well,
surprising
but,
rate.
but once again,
but
you're
the
talking about
awareness is
people
out
of
there.
color. But
But
once again,
even transgender women, in
right?
general.
But I just like the fact that we live in a situation now that people can be who they are,
Yeah.
and it should be okay.
Yeah.
Now, granted, everybody's not going to feel like it's okay,
Yeah.
but I'm one of the people that be you.
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
mad at you for
exactly.
being you. Be you.
Hey,
I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
that's all right.
No,
John,
no, no.
John, let me ask you this.
No, please do.
I just got a couple of questions. And
Yeah,
then
please.
We're gonna
Please,
transition
because
to
some
a
of
couple
it,
other things.
some of it might even
Yeah,
relay into what I'm about to get
yeah,
into. Go ahead, please.
Why, as a person born in Cleveland, grew up in Baltimore, then coming to this area in Waterville, now finding yourself on the north side of Toledo, why is the city of Toledo important to you personally, besides an economic state? Why is Toledo important to you?
Well, you want me to tell you what? The house I live in, the man's house that I bought, his name was Benjamin Franklin Wade. He was on the city council in the 1800s, and he was a printer. He left, like Benjamin Franklin himself did, one of the founding fathers, left Pennsylvania, said, Dad, I'm doing my own shit, started printing, got into politics. This guy, Benjamin Franklin Wade, did the same thing. 16 years old, dipped out from Pennsylvania, hustled with a guy on a steamboat on the Maumee River and got the property in Toledo.
That's the
Started a
story.
printing
And
company,
you know that
practically
is
owns.
amazing,
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
it. You know that is
and then has his
amazing.
house. Meanwhile, here I am, start printing at 16 years old.
So, same thing.
Move out to
Right,
Toledo,
that's it.
and
You just
then here I
resonate-
am,
you resonate
politically
with the whole
motivated. I'm like,
parallel
who
existence.
else? And here's
Right.
what's crazier.
dope.
Right behind me, I didn't find out this till after I bought my properties. In 1901, and actually in the late 1800s, my great-great-grandfather immigrated from Germany here to Toledo, lived right behind me in a 1400 block of Superior behind a house I started
Really?
buying.
Dope.
Your
And I'm like, if
great-grandfather-
this ain't some
great-grandfather.
deja vu shit,
Right.
Dope.
you know,
Nothing
like,
is.
so I feel passionate about it, and I'm passionate enough about people to where, like, when I moved over there, like I said, they thought I was the police. They thought, I mean, every now and again, I still get called a blue-eyed devil every now and again, right? Like, I feel like I'm on the Chappelle show, and I'm like, hello, neighbor. You know, I'm like, how you doing?
Hey, neighbor.
Like, yeah, fuck you, you blue-eyed devil, you know?
Right.
But my neighbors are all my neighbors are all cool. Everybody, I mean, I could leave my trunk open all night on the 1400 block of Huron, and everybody is nice, knows my place, and they
know
don't
who
fuck
you
with
are
me,
now, yeah.
and we all get along with each other.
Everybody's trying to get along now.
Yeah.
Just in that same vein, you know, talking about what you've seen from the time that you got here to now. If you close your eyes right now, I'm physically close your eyes
No,
right
yes,
now,
yeah.
and think about what you want to see for that area and the things that you're touching 10 years from now.
Yeah.
Go.
So what I want to say is, for starters, all right. So 10 years from now, what I see actually, and this is my worry. What I see 10 years from now is is ProMedica goes in, invests a lot of money without informing people like they do behind the scenes. And like I said, I'm glad they're here, but I think that area, considering they've already demolished half of it, it's a wasteland right now.
Yeah.
It is.
Because it's cheap to buy a wasteland.
They're
It's
practically
cheap to
giving
buy.
away the
Listen,
lots.
pay
I could
attention.
see.
Pay attention, people.
I
Pay
can see a
attention.
bunch of
Wasteland.
yuppies coming in, and we're talking, and this is anyone. Shit, you could do this on a fucking government check, and I'm being
Yes.
serious with it.
No,
Get it.
literally.
I tell the young black men in my block, we all chill, we drink, we get along. I'm like, look, get like 4 or 5 of you together. Buy a $15,000
Whatever it
house.
takes.
It's yours.
Come
This
together.
is the start of a
And once
legal,
again,
a
because once
legit
again,
hustle.
when they buy it,
Yes.
if you own it, you don't have to settle for what they offer you.
Exactly.
You can make
You
it
say,
be what
fuck
you
off.
want. Yeah, fuck off. I'm
fuck
not
off.
selling it.
Yeah.
You build
Yeah.
this whole
Hey,
shit
y'all,
around
listen,
me.
man.
I'm
Hey,
keeping this land
listen,
right
Yes.
here.
This
Yes.
is
until
free, brought
they
to you by the
decide-
Three Kings Clothing
until they
Podcast, the
decide
Round Table
to buy
Podcast.
it.
This is
Yeah.
three.
Once
Pay
they buy
attention.
it, it's going to be a
This
lot
is
of
free.
money that
Pay
they have to
attention.
buy
Yes.
it for because it's yours.
No,
They
it's the
can't
truth.
make you
Or
sell it.
you stay there, and next thing you know, that property value triples, quadruples.
So once
You're
again,
sitting on
This
a
is free game.
$100,000,
Pay attention to this.
$200,000 property,
That's what I'm saying. You bought a
$8,000
$15,000
Pay
house
attention
in a
to this.
$9,000 building that's 10,000 square foot. I
Right.
practically bought the block.
and you sell it for
Pay
$500,000.
attention to this.
Well, if they offer me that one day,
That's
yeah,
what-
I'm chilling.
But what I'm
chilling at
saying
the
is
moment,
though,
yeah.
but once again, this is a legal lottery.
Yes.
It's a legal lottery.
Oh yes, it's the Wild West.
That's what I said.
And
I
want-
can buy this
Yes.
for little or nothing.
Yes.
And sit on my ass.
Yes.
Until they offer me.
Yes.
What I feel like.
Yes.
As a seller.
Yeah.
What it's worth.
Oh yeah.
And
What
that's
it's worth.
all.
And that was the point I wanted to touch on. I'm just going to go back to the Malcolm X thing real quick. What he said in that debate that I found interesting is the guy asked him, William F. Buckley said, what should white people do for the black community? And I agree 100% with what he said. They should be trying to educate us and help us to be able to achieve the goals that we need to achieve. Because I don't feel like I can be the leader over in that community, right? But I can inform people and let them know what's going to happen to say, hey, now's the time to invest in that area. You know what I mean? Because this could set you
That's
owning
real.
your home can set you off for your life.
It's
Sure
real.
enough.
That's
John,
real.
definitely appreciate the knowledge that you
Yeah,
brought
absolutely.
to us.
Hey, that's
You
free
know,
game, y'all.
Please check. Hey,
Free game.
Will you do
Free
better
game.
in Toledo? I mean, you know, it's a question to be posed, and it's something for you to go ahead and ponder.
So everybody, make sure y'all go check out John on Will You Do Better in Toledo on Instagram.
Will you do better in
Anywhere
Toledo?
else you got anywhere else?
And will you do better in Toledo.com? I'm
Anywhere-
trying to get
yeah.
a lot more video
Yeah.
content going on, but yeah, at the moment
check
that's
check
what it
that
is.
site out.
Well,
check
you
the
got
check
about
the
an hour's worth of
Instagram
video
page out.
content right now that we can
Yeah,
spice up.
I'm
Check
ready.
it out.
I'm ready.
Check that out. It's good information. John got a lot of good information. He's doing a lot of
This
big things.
is the Roundtable Podcast hosted by Three Kings Clothing, and we're going to get into
Roundtable.
our shirt of the week.
Shirt
Mike
of the
P,
week.
why don't you go ahead and
check
share
this
what
out
the shirt of the
real
week is
quick.
real
We're gonna go
fast.
through this. Shirt of the week is actually sponsored by I Think Beauty, a cosmetology
Think
academy.
Beauty.
Okay, it's
A
on.
Cosmetology Academy.
Yes,
that
it's on
means, that means you can learn how to
5354
You can
Heather
do
Downs
her.
Boulevard. Okay,
You're always gonna be able
so
to do
check
her.
this
Say
out.
that address one more
It's
time.
5345.
5345.
5345 Heather
Heather
Downs.
Downs.
So check this out. If you want to learn how to do hair, nails, anything that has to do with cosmetology, check them out. Very, very good reputation, very good reviews. Check them out. Shirt of the week falls right into what John was saying, some of the other things that we were talking about here, and it's our 419 Skyline shirt. Basically,
Skyline,
basically
baby.
what we wanted to do with the Skyline shirt was we wanted to show how Toledo should be seen. You know, I feel like the downtown area is becoming better.
Way better.
Along the same lines as John was talking about, things have been taking place. People have bought some properties there, moved some businesses in, and it's a lot of synergy going on downtown. So we wanted to show, where we're from. Toledo 419, put the
419.
skyline in it. I think it's beautiful. Check that shirt out. You can get the shirt on 3kingsclothings.com. Also, you can order the shirt off Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So check all those things out. And that's our shirt of the day.
There it is. The 419 Skyline shirt of the day.
419 Skyline.
Roundtable Podcast brought to you and hosted by Three Kings Clothing. Thanks again, John. We definitely
Thank
appreciate you. But
We still have one more thing.
we always
We still have one more
and
thing.
we have to explain this to our guests
one
real
more
fast.
thing.
Please,
Real
please,
fast.
please.
All right.
We have to
What-
explain it
what
to
we
our
have
guests.
right now is
Yeah,
what
I
we
don't have no
what we
word.
affectionately call
Affectionately.
the Dan, the DAN, the Dan
The
of the week.
DAN of the week.
All right, and the Dan is the dumbass nigga of the week. And here we go. The Dan.
Hold on. We have to explain it to our guests.
you're fine.
He's gonna find out.
I'm about as gully as they come. It's all good.
Explain it to our guests that
I think it's explained.
It's not just.
Anyone
just
can be the Dan of the
It's
week.
just.
Oh no, I got from Baltimore. You don't have to explain this shit to me. I get it. I get it.
I love it.
Colloquialism.
Yeah,
All
John
right.
got it already.
This week's Dan of the week, and it's going to go back to the what was going on at Joey Brown Park, and
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect Dan of the week.
Perfect.
The city of Toledo employee that worked at the Toledo Water Initiative. This motherfucker's name is Joe Frankenhauser.
Say it again. Hold on.
Joe Frankhauser.
Say it again one more time.
Joe Frankhauser.
So everybody knows who the fucking Dan of the week
and his last
is.
name is spelled RANCKHAUSER.
Supersonic.
Hey, hold on. Joe, you up on that Summer Jam screen right now. You the man of the week, buddy.
Joe, you are the dumbass nigga of the week.
You are.
And with
Absolutely.
Can I say one thing?
Please do.
This makes me think of some Big
Please
L
elaborate.
shit. Are we all Big L fans?
absolutely.
All
It's
Big
like,
L
that's
fans.
just the way that I talk, yo. Vocabulary spills its ill.
We are all Big L fans. Yes, sir.
And with that, we are out here. Go ahead and play that outro thing.
Show, Three Kings Clothing Podcast.
Thank you.
We out
Drop the
here.
pen.
Good show.
I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, man.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Yo, 360 degrees of perfect steez. Roundtable podcast live with the three kings. We knocking your airways, make you listen every day. Hottest interviews and beats. Tune in, hear what
Take
they
a
say.
seat at the round table right here with the three kings. All the entertainment, news, and knowledge that you need. Giving it to you real, cause that's the way that we breathe. Full circle, 360 degrees.
Roundtable podcast. Yo, Roundtable podcast. Roundtable podcast. Roundtable podcast. Yo, Roundtable podcast. Roundtable podcast.